Hello, today's class is going to be a myofascial release and flow class. So we're gonna do a little bit of both. So if you have your myofascial release balls, grab them. If you don't, you can get some socks just balled up, like a pair of socks. You might want 2 of those. If you don't have those, you could actually use a foam roller for some of these. So you can skip the ones that maybe you don't have the appropriate equipment for. But we'll start seated. We're just going to do a little bit of gentle movement to start. Then we'll do the myofascial release work, and then we'll get into a little bit of flow. So go ahead and find your comfortable seat. Sit up nice and tall. Close your eyes. With your eyes closed, see if you can stack the head over the shoulders and the shoulders over the hips. So you feel the support of the upper body by the pelvis. And just bring awareness to your hips here. And this little bit of flexion, which means your thigh bones are closer to your torso than if you were just standing. And then a little bit of external rotation, or maybe a lot of external rotation of the thigh bone, which is what lets those knees splay out in this cross-leg position. And just take an inhale through the nose. And an exhale out the mouth. And on the next inhale, show the shoulders towards the ears. And exhale, let them soften. Inhale, shrug. Exhale, soften. And inhale, shrug. And exhale, soften. And then inhale, take the arms out and up by the ears. Exhale, take a twist to the right and let your hands just tap down. We'll move side to side here. So inhale to center, reach the arms up. Exhale, twist over to the left. Inhale to center, arms up. Exhale, twist to the right. Inhale to center, arms up. And exhale, twist to the left. And then inhale to center, arms up. This time on the exhale, take your hands forward. Take a gentle walk forward, just a breath here. And then come all the way back up. Change the cross of the legs. On your inhale, take your arms up by the ears. This time, exhale, right palm down, side bend. Inhale to center, arms up. Exhale to the left. Inhale to center. Exhale to the right. Inhale to center. And exhale to the left. And then inhale to center. Exhale, hands in front of you, walk it forward. And then find your way back upright and into tabletop. And just take some cat-cow here. Sometimes I think it's nice to just move a little bit before we start working into the myofascial release. And then after you take your next exhale, just find your way into a child's pose. And notice what this position feels like. Deeper flexion of the hips, which means the thighs are really close to the belly. And just stay here in child's pose. I'm just going to explain what we're going to do today with the myofascial release balls. We're just going to kind of work around all sides of the hip, so front, back, and side to side. And then we'll get moving a little bit more. So you can find your way up to seated. And just get your myofascial release balls. If they're in a little bag, I just took mine out of the bag for this first one. We'll be kind of putting them in and out, which is a little annoying, but we'll work with it. So you're gonna first take the balls to the bullseye of the butt cheek. So imagining your butt cheek is a bullseye, you're gonna take the balls right into the center there. So we're gonna use them both at the same time. So once you have your balls, you come onto your back, you'll take bridge set up with the legs, so knees are bent. And then lift the hips, take those balls underneath you so they're at the bullseye of the butt cheek. So we're gonna do both balls at once. Once you find the position, lower the hips down. And with the myofascial release balls, you can always move them around a little bit. So if it doesn't feel right where you are, just lift the hips, move them up or down, side to side. Find a place where you feel like you can land and be comfortable. And you might find some spots just aren't comfortable. And if that's the case, just remove the props. You can lay flat on the mat at any point and just take some breaths. And then you have the choice here to just stay still. I like to move my knees just a little bit. So a really gentle sway of the knees side to side might feel nice. It's not a huge windshield wiper, so we're not looking for a huge range of motion here. If you do that, you're gonna kind of probably rock off the balls. So just a little sway side to side so you can kind of feel the muscles cross-fibering across those balls. So you're kind of getting this massage action across the, I guess I'll say width of the muscle. And then just find stillness with the knees again. They're just pointing straight up towards the ceiling. Take one deep inhale through the nose and an exhale out the mouth. And then you can press into the feet, lift the hips, just remove the balls out from underneath you, lower the hips down, take your feet wider than your hips, arms to a T, and this time just take a really big windshield wiper of the knees side to side. As you do that, you might just notice the tissue right where the balls just were. I think it feels kind of interesting in my top knee, or I'm gonna say like as my knees go to the right, my left knee, that left side feels interesting after having the balls underneath me. And then have your knees toward your chest. Find your way up to seated. We're gonna kind of be up and down a little bit with this. And just so we can keep the balls out of the bag, we just did the back of the hip. Now we're gonna do the front of the hip. And this one for some people can feel a little intense. So feel free to roll up a blanket and use it in the same position where I'm giving the balls. So you can just here kneeling first, find the position, then we're gonna come onto the belly. So you can find your hip bones. I think everyone can find that. And then you're gonna just take the balls towards the midline of the body, about an inch. So hip bone in towards each other about an inch. You can kind of find that little divot right off the hip bone. That's what we're going for. So once you kind of get the landmark, you can come onto your belly here, and we'll do both balls together, but you'll put them in one at a time. So maybe take it into the left hand, find the left hip bone, go in about an inch, and then right hip bone in about an inch. And you can control the intensity a little bit here. You can take the hands and stack the forehead on the hands. That's gonna probably be less intense. If you want, you can come into more of a sphinx position of the arms. That's gonna be more intense. I think I'm gonna go down today. That feels better. I'm feeling a little bit of intensity. So find a place where you can land. And then take an inhale through your nose. And exhale out the mouth. See if you can just soften the belly. Inhale through the nose. Exhale out the mouth. Inhale through the nose. And exhale out the mouth. And then for a lot of people, this is enough. So you might want to just stay still. Remember, if it's too much, just remove the balls. If you want to try a little bit of movement, you can bend your knees and just a little bit of a sway of the feet side to side. So just like we did on our backs, it's not a huge movement. You're just kind of rocking across the balls as you move the feet side to side. And if you're moving, just re-extend your legs onto the mat. One last breath here. Take an inhale through the nose. And exhale out the mouth. And then you can reach for the balls just to remove them from underneath you. And just lay on your belly here. If you want, you can take that rock with the feet side to side again. And then from there, find your way up to seated. And we're actually going to put the balls into the bag. So trying to not have to take them in and out. So the next two, we will use the balls in the bag. So once you have that, you have the balls, there we go, kind of stacked. And we'll find this next position, kneeling. So once you come to kneeling, you can find the hip bone. We'll do the right side first. So you can take the top ball right on top of your hip bone. I know it's really hard to see here because everything is dark. But once you find the hip bone, you're gonna roll the balls off to the side. So I think you can see that better now. So I kind of like to think of it as the kind of side of my butt cheek, depending on your anatomy. You might have a lot there like I do, or you might have a little, but that's where we're going for here. So you're gonna come onto your right side. And I like to have my weight on my right forearm here, but some people like to be all the way down and rest the head and the hands. So you can explore that. You're gonna find the hip bone and then roll the balls to the side. So I'm kind of on the side of the butt cheek there. And again, you can find the upper body position that feels good for you. And you're just gonna breathe. This one's pretty intense for me. My teacher says this is like a crowd favorite. I don't know that I've found that with people that I work with. I think for a lot of people, this can feel pretty intense. So our goal here is to see if we can start to breathe and relax. I think our natural inclination in these spots that feel a little tender is to tense up, and that's our body's natural reaction. It's totally normal. It's this protection mechanism. So we're not trying to fight that or ask it not to happen. But sometimes it happens maybe when it doesn't need to. So we can allow ourselves to relax and our body's like, okay, I'm safe. This is fine. I can relax into this and let the balls kind of sink into the muscle tissue, the fascial tissue. You just have a couple more breaths on the side. And then find your way up to a comfortable seated position. Before you do the other side, come to your cross-legged position. Just notice how the right and the left hip feel after doing that right side. That feels pretty different from me, even just sitting upright. You could take a gentle lean forward. Notice how that feels on the outer hips. And then come upright, we'll change sides. So again, you're gonna come onto the left side. You can be on the forearm or have your head resting in that hand. Find the hip bone with that top ball and then roll the balls off to the side of the butt cheek. And I didn't mention this on the first side, but you probably took a look at my legs and figured out what works for you. This is what I like because I can use my top foot to kind of support a little bit of weight of my body. Some people like to have the legs straight. So some of this is personal preference, just finding a place where you feel like you can settle. And then take some deep breaths in and out through the nose. You might notice that when you do things from side to side, they feel different. All right, from there, we'll come all the way up. You know what, I was gonna do one more spot, but I think we're gonna get moving instead. So you can take your balls off to the side, come back to your cross-leg position. Notice how the hips feel now in the outer hip. Mine feels a little more balanced, and then take a gentle lean forward. And then come back upright, find your way into tabletop. And then tuck your toes, lift your hips, come to downward facing dog. Just find some movements. We didn't do a down dog before we did that myofascial release. Sometimes I like to do that, but trying to manage time a little bit. So just notice how the hips feel. When I did that down dog, I definitely noticed the outer hips felt a little warmer, a little looser. And then from this down dog, walk your feet forward to your hands, forward fold top of the mat. Let's actually hold this first one, maybe coming into ragdoll, taking a little sway. Just notice how this feels. You remember we used the balls on the bullseye of the butt cheek, which if we had done a forward fold before that, you probably would have noticed a pretty obvious difference when you do this pose. But you might even just notice it now. Most of you do yoga enough, you probably know what your first forward fold of class feels like. And then release your hands to the mat. Take an inhale, lift halfway. And exhale, fold all the way back forward. Inhale, come to standing, reach the arms up. And exhale, hands to the heart. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, halfway. Exhale to plank. Inhale there. Exhale to your belly. Inhale, cobra, peel up. Exhale, lower down, press through tabletop, downward facing dog. And then walk your feet forward to your hands. Inhale, lift halfway. And exhale, fold forward. Inhale, come all the way to standing. Exhale, hands to the heart. Inhale, reach up. Exhale, fold forward. Inhale, halfway. Exhale to plank. Inhale there. Exhale to your belly. Inhale, cobra or up dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. And then take your right leg up and back. Bend the knee, open the hip, maybe circle that right ankle or the right knee around, or you could be still. And then straighten the legs square off the hip. Bring the foot between the hands. Drop the back knee down for a low lunge. And then straighten the right leg, walk your hands back, come into a half split. We're gonna move between this and the low lunge. So walk the hands back forward, bend that right knee. Then take this at your own pace, straightening the front leg, coming into a half split, and walking forward. Just moving back and forth here. And when you're back in the low lunge, hold there. And tuck the back toes, lift the back knees, step back, downward facing dog. And then take your left leg up and back. Bend the knee, open the hip, take a little movement if you'd like. And then straighten the legs, square off the hip. Bring the foot between the hands, drop the back knee down to the mat for your low lunge. And then you know what you're doing, so moving between the half split and the low lunge. And then next time you're back in the low lunge, pause. And tuck the back toes, lift the back knee, step to downward facing dog. You can hold your down dog or inhale for plank. Exhale to your belly. Inhale, cobra or up dog, spread the collarbones. And exhale, downward facing dog. And take your right leg up and back. Bring the foot between the hands, spin the back heel down, come up to warrior two. And then straighten the front leg, reach forward, hinge into triangle pose. And then press into both feet, back up to your warrior two. Cartwheel your hands down, freeing your front foot, step to down dog. Take an inhale there. And then exhale. And then take your left leg up and back. Bring the foot between the hands, spin the back heel down, come up warrior two. And then straighten your front leg, reach forward, hinge into triangle pose. And then back up to your warrior two. Cartwheel your hands down, frame your front foot, step to down dog. You can hold your down dog or inhale for plank. Exhale down to your belly. Inhale, cobra or up dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. Walk your hands and your feet towards each other, forward fold at the center of your mat. Walk your feet a little wider than your hips, spin your heels in, toes out, bend your knees, come into Malasana, hands to prayer. And take your hands to the mat, straighten the legs, lift the hips, sorry. Walk your feet hips distance and parallel. Take an inhale, lift halfway. And exhale, fold forward. Inhale, come all the way to standing, reach your arms up. Exhale, twist to the right, take your arms to a T. Inhale, come back to center, arms up. Exhale, twist to the left. Inhale to center, arms up. And exhale, cactus your arms, take a little back bend. Inhale, come back upright, arms up. Exhale, hinge from the hips, fold all the way forward. Inhale, lift halfway. And exhale, downward facing dog. And then take your right leg up and back. Bring your right knee to your right elbow so you can drop your right foot to the outside of your right hand. So you're in a lunge with your right foot wide. And then drop your back knee down to the mat, untuck the toes. You're welcome to stay right here. If it feels good for you, you can drop down to forearms. I'm not feeling that today, so I'm not gonna do it, but if you want, you can go there. And if you drop to forearms, come back to the palms of the hands so your arms are straight. One last option here, you can pull the left heel in towards the body and take your right hand to reach for the top of the left foot. If you have the foot, release it, return your hand to the mat, tuck the back toes, lift the back knee, take your right leg up and back, three-legged dog, and then lower that foot, downward facing dog. And then take the left leg up and back, left knee to left elbow so you can drop that foot on the outside of your left hand. Drop your back knee down to the mat, untuck the toes, pause there. And then if you liked that option of coming to forearms, you could do that. Just try and find a steady breath here. And then if you drop to forearms, just come back to the palms of the hands so your arms are straight. Pull your right heel in towards your body if you'd like, and take your left hand for the top of that foot. And then slowly release that, take your hand back to the mat, tuck the back toes, lift the back knee, take that left leg up and back, three-legged dog. And then lower that foot, downward facing dog. And come forward into plank. Lower all the way to your belly. And then slide your forearms forward, come into Sphinx pose. And then lower the head and the shoulders, slide the hands back by the sides of the rib cage. Press through tabletop, downward facing dog. And drop your knees to the mat, take your hips to your heels, come into child's pose. Notice how the hips feel. Maybe this one feels pretty different than your first child's pose, if you can remember what that felt like. And then come up through tabletop so you can find your way to seated. And extend your legs straight out in front of you. Bend your right knee, sole of the foot to the mat. Take that right foot over the left leg and bend your left leg. From there, walk your feet away from each other, stack the knees. And then take your left arm by your ear. Bend the left elbow, take your right hand to your left elbow. You can stay there if you want, right arm to a T, flip that palm towards the back of the mat and bend the elbow, reach fingertips towards each other. It's not happening for me today. So you can hold on to your shirt or you can take that right hand back to the left elbow. And then unwind the arms, unwind the legs, take the legs in front of you, give them a quick little shake. And we'll change sides, bend the left knee, cross the left foot over, bend the right leg, and then stack the knees. Right arm by the ear, bend that elbow, left hand to right elbow. And then maybe the left arm goes to a T, bend the elbow, reach for fingers. And then unwind your arms, unwind your legs, take the legs out in front of you, give them a little shake. And if you're not at the front of the mat, scooch forward, knees bent, hands behind the thighs, and then just roll yourself all the way onto your back. Once you're there, bend the knees, soles of the feet to the mat, arms by the sides, press into the feet, lift up into a bridge pose. And then lower the hips down, just pause. And one more bridge pose, press into the feet, lift the hips up. And then lower the hips down to the mat, walk the feet wider than the hips, arms to a T, lift away from the knees side to side again. Notice how that movement feels. Does it feel loose or stiff? Notice how the hips feel as you do it. And then hug the knees towards the chest. Take your arms to a T and drop your legs over to the right for a simple twist. And then bring the knees up through center, take them over to the other side. Bring the legs up to center. You can stay there, maybe come into a happy baby. And if you're in happy baby, hug your knees towards your chest. Final hug. And then release the legs, come into your Shavasana. Just let the feet splay open naturally, the legs relax. Let the shoulder blades just softly drop back into the mat. The front of the chest soften. Relax the muscles across the forehead, around the eyes, the cheeks, and the jaw. Start to deepen your breath. Wiggle your fingers and toes. Circle your ankles and wrists. Use your arms by your ears, big stretch. And roll to one side, pause there, eyes closed. The purpose of a rose is to be a rose. Your purpose is to be yourself. You don't have to run anywhere to become someone else. You are wonderful just as you are. Press into your top hand, make your way all the way up, comfortable seated position, eyes closed, hands at the heart. One last inhale through the nose. Exhale out the mouth. Have a wonderful rest of your day. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste. See you next time.